Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Excited because today we are wrapping up my bottle versus your bottle. So we already did one instance of this and we did the category was rye. That time my bottle did come out on top. This time around we had 10 different submissions from you guys, viewers, Patreon members, and I said I don't think you've got a bottle on your shelf that is a finished bourbon that can take down my favorite finished bourbon on my shelf. And so I selected the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend Batch 205. It's delicious and I freaking love it, right? Well, what we did, if you didn't see the other videos, is I took the first 5 submissions, I blinded them, I didn't know who sent them in or what they were, I picked my favorite 2, and then I did the next 5, did the same thing, picked 2 from that set. Now we have 4 bottles that were the best of the ones that were sent in per my palate for that tasting. And I'm gonna take those 4 and pin them up against my 1 in a blind today. So 5 pours, 1 of them is my bottle, 4 of them are your bottles. Now my wife poured the blind and she sent me an email with the key. So she was ready to go to bed, so, which I can't blame her. It's pretty late here. But let's get into these. I'll start with glass A. All right, here we go on glass A. A little bit of leather and tobacco, sweet tobacco on the nose of this one. A sort of a warehouse funky kind of a quality to it as well, which I love. Matt, who sent in a sample, I don't know where it is in the lineup or even if it made the cut, but he just texted me. He said, "Are you finishing this thing up tomorrow?" I'm finishing it up right freaking now, Matt. It's got a beautiful nose to it. It does in a lot of ways remind me of the Joseph Magnus on the nose. It noses like something that's been finished in like a fortified wine cask of some kind. Let's get in on it. Cheers. I mean, come on, that's phenomenal. Seriously, it's got plenty of heat on it for sure. I get that nice Kentucky hug, which you love to get on a bourbon of all things. But specifically, I really love like leather and dark fruit notes on a good finished bourbon. This is giving me that, you know, that figgy jam kind of a quality. It's thick and chewy almost, the fruity quality of it. It's not a bright or cidery kind of a fruit. It's those deep figgy jammy notes, which I love. What a killer pour, whatever that is. Okay, we're starting out strong. Now, I always loop back because you always have sort of a first drink bias one way or the other on the first pour. So we'll definitely loop back around to this one before we make a final judgment of any kind. Glass B. Let's get in it on this. Glass B on the nose. I almost get hit with a sort of, I've used this note before a couple of times, and I hope it doesn't sound like a bad thing, because to me it's not. But it almost gives me a sort of apple cider vinegar kind of a note. Or even like that balsamic, that sour fruitiness, you know, that you get. But it's also plenty nutty as well. So I'm getting that fruity, that sour fruit, but also plenty of nuts, mixed nuts. Like bar nuts, you're sitting down at a bar at the airport waiting on your next flight. Figure you get yourself a nice pour of something. Grab a handful of bar nuts. There you go. Let's try it. Ooh, I really like this. I can see why I selected it to move it forward. That nutty quality comes through big and bold. Lots of lightly toasted nuts, but it's also very heavy in some of the bourbon qualities that I love. Lots of butterscotch, a little bit of bright cherry in here. It's really yummy. That's crushable. Man, this is going to be really tough because obviously all of these are really good or else I wouldn't have made it. I want to just keep drinking that one. But let's move on. Glass C. We're coming out strong, man. I'll tell you what. Nose of this gives me some traditional bourbon vibes. We get some good seasoned oak in here, some baking spices, and vanilla bean. And there's a certain sort of like a wood shop note to it as well. Beautiful nose. Let's get in on it. It's very sweet. But then the tannic seasoned oak comes in alongside that sweetness to sort of give it some balance, some harmony. So it's not overbearing. That's very bright and light. Not bassy and leathery or tobacco-y or anything like that. But just a nice tannic seasoned oak alongside some quintessential bourbon notes. This one lands firmly in the realm of crushable, right? It's nothing that you're gonna do on like a weekend pour to kind of cap off a week of lots of work. This is something you're like, I want something yummy right now. You know what I mean? It's a freaking Tuesday night. You got to go to work the next day. You want to have a pour that you're really going to enjoy. It's not just going to be a cheap one-off pour, but you also don't think it needs to be anything that's going to knock you on your keister. That's this. You know, every whiskey has its own purpose, right? And that's just yummy. Let's move on. Now here's the challenge. I can tell you just looking at this. Maybe I need to get some of those black Glencairns. I don't think it would have mattered because I'm going to taste it and know immediately. But in the first video that I recorded, there was a whiskey that was super dark. And this is super dark. And when I tasted it, it gave me this Gulf Coast sea, briny sea air, like right at the crescendo of the palate. And I can tell you just looking at this, that's this one. And so here's why I have to be objective, right? I know for a fact this is not my bottle, right? I know for a fact this is not my bottle. But I promise you that I will be 100% honest and just say, what do I like more? And maybe I like this one more. Holy cow, man. It is not bashful at all. I think this is probably why I moved this one on. It's assertive, but not in a bad way. This is like when your wife comes walking through the door. She comes walking in the room. You have not seen her in that outfit yet today. But she comes walking in, and the first thing that you think is, oh my gosh, she is a fox. And then she just walks up to you and gives you a big old kiss. And it's like you didn't have to initiate, you didn't have to do anything. You were already thinking, dang, she looks good. And then she just comes up and plants one on you, and you're like, I could die right now a happy man. That's what this one does. It comes walking in the room looking foxy and just plants one on you, and you're like, I don't mind how forward you just were. I kind of like it. It gives me this plum note, and I used to love eating plums as a kid. But it's got this deep, dark, rich sweetness to it, which I love. Definitely some leather notes in here. Let's try it. This is that one. It is so consistent with that briny sea air quality that comes right at the crescendo of the palate. Doesn't stay around long, but the rising action to that climax is fruity and sweet. The falling action is tannic. It is oaky with almost like a sort of graham cracker note to it. I just really want to know what this one is because it stands out. It is unique. It is singular. And it strikes me as the kind of thing that not everyone would get down with, honestly. It's like your buddy who has a very specific type. He's like, I want a goth girl who likes Magic the Gathering, but is also really into badminton. And you're like, you're never going to find that girl, man. Like, you need to give it up. And then one day she just walks into his life, and he's the happiest man alive. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not what everybody's into. Magic the Gathering, badminton, goth girls. But if you're into it, you just struck gold. That's kind of what this one is to me, is that it's like, man, this would not hit everybody's palate right, but it's hitting me right. Man, that's wild. Moving on to the finale. Notice this one has some manners. It's a little more delicate. But I kind of thinking of the first thing that came to mind on this was a nutty bar. Man, I was a sucker for nutty bars. I remember back when I was a kid, I was in middle school, and you'd go through the lunch line, and you could get your standard lunch options. But if you had extra cash to splurge, you could get a nutty bar or a Swiss cake roll or zebra cakes. And I tell you what, I lost a lot of money from mowing lawns on freaking nutty bars and zebra cakes. Let's get in on it. Cheers. Oh, that's really good. It is really nutty. Another note that comes to mind, strangely enough, almond milk. Have you ever had almond milk? Growing up, my mom couldn't have a ton of dairy, so a lot of times we would have like almond milk in the house. And I would try it, and I'd be like, you know what, I actually kind of like this stuff. This reminds me of that. Nutty and milky. Yeah, that's pretty good. I can see why I moved it on. This one is similar to Glass 3 in the regard that I would say it falls firmly into the category of crushable. Like, this is the kind of thing that you can get in trouble with because you're like, you poured one, you crushed it, and you're like, that was really good. I could go another one. And going too far is always like this. Like, it happens exponentially. You know what I mean? It's not addition. Like 2 plus 2. Like 2 ounces plus 2 ounces is 4 ounces. And you go for a third pour of 2 ounces. Now you're at 6 ounces. It's more like it's exponential. That's how alcohol is to me. Which is why I've learned to be careful over the years. Because it's more like it's 2 ounces. But then when you have another 2 ounces, it's more like it's 2 times 2. Which is still 4. But then it's the third glass, where it's 2 times 2 times 2, not 2 plus 2 plus 2, which would be 6 ounces. It's not going to hit you like 6 ounces. That third pour does not hit you like 6 ounces. It hits you like 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. So it's almost like you doubled it. And even though you had one extra pour, it's like you doubled all the pours you had previously. And then, God forbid, you go in for a fourth pour, you're about to be messed up. Because exponentially speaking, now it's hitting you like 16 ounces. when your brain is saying, oh, this is just 8 ounces. No, my friend, no, it is not. This is crushable. It's the kind of thing that could get you in trouble. Man, that's good. These are all like exceptionally good. And now I have this like genuine challenge. The genuine challenge is I need to order these. I need to rank them from bottom to top. Just know that if yours comes in bottom, it's nothing personal. It made it this far because it was good enough to make it to the final round. So none of these have been bad pours by any stretch. So we gotta take 5 great pours and rank them from 5th to 1st. And I have to eliminate my bias, which is to say, I think I know which one of these was my bottle, but I need to push that out of my mind and just select the ones that I liked the most. I think my selection might shock you. But before I make my choice, I'm going to go ahead and run through these one more time and verify, validate before I publish my final rankings. Sound good? Let me hit them once more. For science. All right, I have made my final selections. Okay? And again, let me reiterate, I liked all these. And you might be shocked at the way I'm kind of shocked. And it could just be the way that they're hitting me today, honestly. It could just quite simply be that. Here's where I landed. In 5th place is going to be glass 3. Maybe I should call it C. I'll go 8th. I'll call the glasses A through E. Because that way I'm not like, oh, glass 1 is in 2nd place. That just gets confusing. It's 2 numerical values. So we'll do this. Glass C for today. Glass C is going to take 5th place. And then in 4th place is going to be glass E. That would be the last one that we tasted tonight. So glass E taking 4th place. In 3rd place, we are going to go with glass D. So this was the this was the goth girl who's into Magic the Gathering and badminton. So unique. I really liked this pour. I am probably more curious about this one than any of the others as to what it actually is because it is so singular. That's going to take 3rd place. 2nd place. Here's where we come to the top 2. And here's where I gotta confess, right? I'm going to give this 2nd place, but I think this is my bottle. I think glass A is going to land in 2nd place tonight. And I think that one is my Joseph Magnus bottle. But just the way it was hitting my palate tonight, man, I gotta tell you what, glass B was so good. Man, it was so crushable. It reminds me a lot of, and I know this is gonna sound weird because I'm talking about Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend, which is like a $200 bottle most times, most days. But this reminds me in a lot of ways of what I love about the old Bardstown bottle, which is $15 bottle of whiskey that's Kentucky exclusive. But it reminds me of that bottle a lot in this like bright cherries and rich butterscotches, but it's like elevated. It's like if you took that distillate and said, what if we just went the distance with it, aged it longer, gave it a 2nd barrel for some finishing to impart some extra flavor into it. And man, it was hitting me just right. Yeah, I like that a lot. So there's my rankings. 1st place, glass B. 2nd place, glass A. 3rd place, D. 4th place, E. 5th place, C. Let's find out what they were. Time to open up the email. All right. Man, this is crazy. I'm looking at these, man. These are wild. These are wild pours. Let's start with my 5th place. So my 5th place bottle would have been, this is a sherry finish. Oh, interesting. Came in from John Hare. Interesting. So this is going to be Legent, and it's the sherry finish. This says, Legent is a blend of 5-year-old unfinished bourbon from Jim Beam and bourbon that has been finished in X wine casks and X sherry casks. I could see that. That was really good. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. And then 4th place, toasted vanilla. Interesting. This is Barrel King, batch 73, sent in from Grendel. I said it was nutty and milky. Barrel King batch 73, toasted vanilla. Thanks, Grendel. That was really good. It is actually quite tasty. Yeah, I only hear good stuff about Barrel King. It's like a subscription-based thing, but you get access to some really cool bottles. I've talked to several people now who subscribe to Barrel King, and none of them regret it. They've all said positive things. They're like, man, I love this stuff. Get a wide variety of blends and finishes. And I do think that might be the direction that a lot of us are headed when it comes to whiskey, is we kind of went through this craft distillery boom, and NDPs, non-distilling producers, buying up whiskey that's sourced and then finishing it in different barrels and blending it. And we kind of went through this like, I want to try everything season. But now You know, whiskey's expensive at these days. And I think a lot of us are like whittling it back down. It's like, I went out and I explored the world, and now I'm coming back to the things I liked the most. You know, once you've been on your journey of exploration, now you've like selected 2 or 3 different brands that like really speak to you. And I think that that might be the direction that a lot of us are headed, where it's like, it used to be, I want to have a little bit of everything. And now we're moving more towards, I love this distiller, I love what they're doing, or this blender, and I love what they're doing. And I would rather just full send on that rather than continuing to take $100 risks on brands that I might not like. Okay, it's really good. Thanks, Grendel. Appreciate it. The third place bottle. This is River Roots Port Finish, sent in from Matt. I mean, River Roots is no joke. No joke at all. I mean, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think this is probably, what, a $250 bottle? And I gotta tell you, it is seriously good, man. I mean, there's just nothing quite like it. This is our goth girl Magic the Gathering badminton lady right here. May not speak to everybody, but man, it's hitting me right. And the color on this is absurd, dude. Look at that. That is absurd. I really like this bottle, dude. Thanks for sharing it with me. This is so good. And I was absolutely right that Glass A was mine. Glass A was my bottle, right? That's the Joseph Magnus, and it is still so freaking good, man. I tell you what, that pour is so good. But tonight, man, Glass B was hitting right. This came in from DMC. This is 4-Gate, the Kelvin collaboration number 6. Comes in at 115.6 proof. It's got a lot of proof to it. MSRP is about $200. This is a blend of 3 9-year-old Kentucky straight bourbons finished in Portuguese Madeira and Conch Republic dark rum casks. Is it Conch or is it Conch? It's Conch. I Google it, the top response is conch, you know, like a conch on the noggin. I like that. Don't call it, it literally says, don't call it the Conch Republic. Got it. Won't do it anymore. I learned my lesson. Conch Republic dark rum. Listen, I'm thinking about I described this, I said, bright cherries. It literally says on their tasting notes, tart cherries. Yeah, I agree. Brown sugar, oak, vanilla. Yeah, I totally agree. DMC, you took my bottle down, man. This is freaking good. And it's at the same price point, too. Man, guys, that was fun. Hey, thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for submitting the samples, those of you who did. Congrats, DMC, on taking my bottle of Joseph Magnus down tonight. I gotta give it to you. This is a really good bottle. All of these were exceptional pours. You know, expressing my deepest gratitude to those of you guys who sent stuff in. Looking forward to doing the next category is going to be finished ryes. And then after that, I think it's American single malts. So I think we got some great bangers on deck for our next segment of Beat My Bottle. And this time around, you guys did beat my bottle. I'm shooting 50% at this point. And that was the hard part about it, was like, and I was right. I dialed in my bottle. I know my bottle. I love my bottle. And I knew exactly which one it was, but I had to be objective and say, tonight, what am I enjoying more? And the gold went to DMC's 4-Gate, the Kelvin collaboration. So with that, I say cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.